reports are that Paulina Gretzky, who I'm going to say off the top is smoking hot, is good looking, is phenomenally attractive. She also appears to have the IQ of a particularly daft snail. She was on Inside the Ropes at 18 during the final round of the U.S. Open. Dustin Johnson sinks a birdie putt. When this hole begins, he is 4 strokes back. Paulina Gretzky and her hot-ass friends begin celebrating, believing that Dustin Johnson has actually won the U.S. Open. This, to me, is next level dumb. Dustin Johnson did not lead for the entire day on Sunday. And some of you out there who don't actually have any access to hot women are going to say, oh, you know what? She's hot. She can do whatever she wants. I disagree. On the flowchart of desirability, Dustin Johnson is more attractive than Paulina Gretzky is. Let me explain. He is the greatest golfer in the world. He has a line of smoking hot chicks that he could sleep with and or date. The idea that some of you have that a pro athlete and has one hot girl, and if he doesn't have that one hot girl, he's going to be dating Rosie O'Donnell, is laughable to me. This dude, Dustin Johnson, is good looking. He's a multi-millionaire. He is able to, in theory, date anybody he wants in the world. There are a lot fewer Dustin Johnsons than there are Paulina Gretzky's, okay? Dustin Johnson is the catch in this relationship. So I understand hot girl privilege. I understand that it exists. I am a fan of good-looking women. But the woman has to prove that she is not an absolute imbecile in order for me to spend any kind of significant resources on her at all. And Paulina Gretzky and her 2 dingbat friends celebrating after Dustin Johnson made a birdie putt on 18 because they believed he had won the U.S. Open is next level stupid. How dumb is it? I think it's actually dumber than what J.R. Smith did. Now, some people out there are like, J.R. Smith's a pro athlete, he's on the basketball court. But the score in the basketball game was going back and forth a lot. I'm not defending J.R. Smith. I think he was an idiot for not knowing the situation at the end of game 1. But Paulina Gretzky is with a man who has not led for 5 hours. He hasn't been in the lead all game long. If your team did not lead for the entire second half and the game ended and you cheered because you thought they had won, you would be next level stupid. Okay? To me, this is a no-brainer, literally. I'm not sure that Paulina Gretzky has a brain at all, nor do her friends. First of all, Dustin Johnson is 4 strokes back on the 18th hole. Even if you haven't been paying attention at all, I was at the U.S. Open. I can tell you that people were walking around with the sign to tell you the score. The only thing I can think is that she's so dumb, and I think this might have happened. I think she is so dumb that she saw that Dustin Johnson was +4 on the sign, and she thought he was up 4 strokes. That's the only possibility I can think of for how she could be this imbecilic when it came to actually making a decision, because she thought +4 was better than even. And I'm telling you, sometimes, I said this on the show this morning, I put on my lawyer hat every now and then to explain complex legal issues. Sometimes I think it's important to turn your brain off and recognize what dumb people think, okay? To recognize what dumb people think, sometimes you have to turn your brain off. And one reason that I've had the success that I've had is I can talk to smart people on a really high level of intellect, but I can also talk in a understandable enough fashion to dumb people such that they can understand the arguments that I am making. And I think there is a chance that she saw that scoreboard and saw Dustin Johnson +4 and thought that they were in the lead. Now, some of you are out there like, oh, she was drinking, she was drunk. I have been very drunk many times in my life, on the Lord's honor. I have been insanely drunk while the sun is still in the sky. I have been so drunk many times while the sun is still in the sky. I have even attended some sporting events while in that status. Do you know how many times I've ever been at a sporting event when the sporting event ended and not known who won the game? Zero. There has never been a point in time where I've had so much alcohol that when a game ended, I thought to myself, wait a minute, who won this game? I got to tell you, Paulina Gretzky not being able to, keep in mind, her husband never had the lead. He never had the lead from the entire day on Sunday. So unlike J.R. Smith, where the teams went back and forth with who had the lead down the stretch in game one, she had no idea what the score was, and the score hadn't changed in 5 hours. There was no point in time where her husband, if like suddenly they had a huge hurricane hit and they had to stop play and they had to award the championship wherever they were in the space of that game, pretend that happened. There was at no point in time where her husband would have been the victor. So this was, to me, next level dumb. Like just off the charts level dumb, even worse than J.R. Smith level dumb. And some people are saying, oh, you're being mean to Paulina Gretzky. I disagree. I believe, and I have long believed, that if you are so dumb, if you are so insanely dumb that you are not aware of things like this, the only way your stupidity can be eliminated is if you are able to be called dumb. So some people are out there like, oh, you should be nice. Oh, you shouldn't call people out for being dumb. I disagree. I think when you are so stupid that other people around you are aware of your stupidity, and when you are rich and theoretically have access to education. In other words, it's not like Paulina Gretzky grew up poor in some sub-Saharan village or some Indian backwater and never had access to schooling. This is a girl who was rich her entire life, who probably attended very high-level private schools and has yet been incapable of even being able to keep the barest level of intelligence on her ability to actually tell who's winning. Moreover, I actually feel a little bit sorry for Dustin Johnson here. Because yes, Paulina Gretzky is very hot, and I'm sure he has a great time interacting with her hotness. But on some level, if you are attempting to attain the highest level of your profession, wouldn't you want your wife to, or fiance or wherever she is, your baby mama, to actually be aware of what you're attempting to do? Like, I've said this before. If I were a pro golfer, I'm not a guy who needs to be constantly fluffed. I'm not a guy who needs to be surrounded by talent telling me how amazing I am. But I got to tell you this. If I were playing to win the U.S. Open, I would like for my wife to be there. I would like, maybe this is crazy, I would like for her to actually know the score of the golf tournament. And I would like for my agent to be there and potentially for my parents to be there. And I would expect when I finish the golf tournament that my mom and my girlfriend or wife or baby mama would know what the actual score of the tournament I had just played in was. I'm telling you right now, this does not seem like a ridiculous standard to hold Paulina Gretzky to. And yet she was still unable to reach it. Doesn't say, you guys out there, you don't know good-looking women. This actually bothers me. I know hot girl privilege exists, and if you are like a mechanic and you work at a crappy mechanic's job and you make $34,000 a year and you have a smoking hot wife who's insanely dumb, that's a trade-off, all right? You traded like functional intelligence for smoking hotness. And I understand you might be willing to make that trade. But if you are a successful man like Dustin Johnson, you shouldn't have to make trade-offs. Like, my wife is hot. She's also really smart. I met her in law school. I would not have dated somebody or certainly married or mixed my genes with a stupid person. because I'd be like, I don't want to have stupid kids. Dustin Johnson should be able to get the absolute apex level mate. Like the reason why, by and large, men attain high levels of success is so they can attract the best possible mate. There are tons of Paulina Gretzkys out there. There are lots of really pretty Instagram models that I'm sure would love for Dustin Johnson to slide into their DMs and then slide into them later that night. That is not difficult to find. If you are rich and insanely successful, finding pretty girls who want you to spend money on them is literally the easiest thing you can do in your life. Well, there's nothing easier. Paulina Gretzky is the replaceable aspect of the party here. She outkicked her coverage. Dustin Johnson is a good-looking dude who happens to be the #1 golfer in the world. He could go out and grab anybody that he wants and have a high-level group of talent. This, to me, is a total misplay of assets. Dustin Johnson, I'm sorry, Paulina Gretzky is so stupid.